Hello and welcome. You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné. Let's start with the headlines. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni is seeking re-election to extend his nearly 4-decade rule, while the UN and human rights organizations voice increasing concerns over the suppression of opposition ahead of next year's presidential and legislative elections. A new gold rush in Ghana with soaring global prices as illegal mining surges, costing the country billions in lost revenue. The industry turns to technology to fight back. And meet the sculptor of giants, a 20-year-old artist crafting dreams from scrap and bringing the streets of Togo to life. His impressive sculptures have been showcased across the globe. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has officially declared his intention to run for 7th term in polls due early next year. At 80 years old, he has been in power since 1986 and is Africa's 4th longest ruling leader. As presidential and legislative elections draw near, growing repression of the opposition is raising serious concerns. Our regional correspondent Juliette Montilli has more.
He's been in power for nearly 4 decades and he wants to stay there. Uganda's 80-year-old President Yoweri Museveni will run for re-election in January 2026. The announcement came from his ruling party, the National Resistance Movement. While not a surprise, the confirmation makes it official. A former guerrilla commander, Museveni took power in 1986. Since then, he's ruled the country with an iron fist, drawing frequent criticism from human rights groups. And now, with elections on the horizon, political repression is ramping up, raising red flags both at home and abroad. The last vote in 2021 was marred by intimidation, arrest and violence. Now, critics fear history is repeating itself. Indeed, one major opposition figure, Kizza Besigye, has already been behind bars for months. Another challenger, former singer Bobby Wine, announced just last month that he too will be running.
Kenya is preparing for rallies marking the 1-year anniversary of last year's significant protests for change. The country has seen increasing violence involving protesters, law enforcement and armed groups known as goons, who are suspected of being hired to disrupt peaceful gatherings. Kenyan President William Ruto has stated that the government will support the police in advance of his memorial protests. Let's take a listen.
None of us is above the law. You cannot intimidate the police. You cannot use force against the police, or insult, or threaten the police. You are threatening our nation. Because these are our frontline defenders of our rights as Kenyans and of the right of this nation to be peaceful and to be secure.
Mali and Russia are deepening their alliance, signing a string of economic agreements during a high-profile visit to Moscow by junta leader General Assimi Goïta. On the table, expanded trade, infrastructure deals, and a major new push into nuclear energy. It marks Goïta's first official trip to Russia since taking power in 2021. Clémence Valère reports.
A diplomatic visit to strengthen Russian-Malian relations. On Monday, after a military ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Moscow, General Assimi Goïta, president of Mali, met with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. At the top of the agenda, security and defense.
Today we have to recognize that thanks to the cooperation with Russia, particularly in the areas of defense and security, Mali has been able to recover the integrity of its territory. This demonstrates the reliability and effectiveness of cooperation with the Russian Federation.
Effectiveness often put to the test. In recent weeks, Mali has seen an increase in the number of attacks by armed groups, and many areas are under jihadist blockades. Among the targets, a Malian military convoy bolstered by Russian auxiliaries in the northern Kidal region. Russian paramilitary groups have been present on Malian soil since 2021. but the Russian-Malian friendship aims to extend beyond security.
We established diplomatic relations 65 years ago and have continued cooperating ever since. There are promising areas for future cooperation, such as geological exploration, natural resources development, energy and logistics.
Ties between Bamako and Moscow were reactivated shortly after the 2020 Malian coup d'etat. The putsch resulted in the severing of all diplomatic relations with France, the former colonial power, deemed ineffective in the fight against jihadist groups.
And in other news, from 5 to a 10-year sentence against Franco-Algerian writer Boualem Sansal. In Algeria, the prosecution doubled his sentence during a hearing before the Algiers Court of Appeal. Sansal, who is 80 years old, was arrested in November at the Algiers airport and has been detained since for undermining Algeria's territorial integrity. This came after he said in an interview with a far-right French media outlet that France unfairly ceded Moroccan territory to Algeria during the 1830-1962 colonial era. A verdict is expected on July 1st. Now to Ghana, where a new gold rush driven by soaring global prices is pushing the mining industry to embrace high-tech solutions in a fight against illegal mining. The practice is costing the country billions in lost revenue, fueling violent clashes and contaminating waterways with toxic mercury. Elimi Ball has the story.
Flying in the skies over Tarkwa mine, this little drone is setting off on its latest mission, protecting Africa's largest industrial gold mine. A few minutes into its flight, it spots what it's looking for: illegal miners scouring for gold. Drones like this are Ghana's latest technology, specifically designed to fight organized crime.
The drone is a faster way, and it has a faster coverage. So you could use a few minutes to fly a drone over the whole concession, but if you would want to go physically, that would mean the use of fuel and human resource and going around all the mine. So the drones and tech has been very helpful in fighting crime on the mine.
This game of cat and mouse between police and illegal miners is increasingly frequent in Ghana in light of record gold prices and widespread unemployment. But thanks to this latest innovation, security teams can reach sites within minutes. This time the scene is abandoned when the police arrive. All that's left to do is to confiscate the leftover equipment. Tarkwa mine spends $500,000 annually on high-tech surveillance, but still experiences frequent incursions.
Or let's say in years past, where there wasn't any aerial view or any AI, you just go by word of mouth. You get people to tell you, oh, there's illegal mining happening here, and before the task force get there, there's no one there. So with this, we're able to get precision, like point blank, the location and the precise location of all these illegalities.
According to authorities, 3 to 5 million people depend on illegal mining. Today, the practice accounts for approximately 30% of the region's total gold production and an estimated $2 billion lost in missed taxes annually as the gold is smuggled out of the country. As gold prices soar, confrontations increasingly turn violent. Almost 20 illicit miners have been killed across the region since late 2024.
Now, he is known as the sculptor of giants. The young Togolese artist is transforming contemporary art with his unique creations. His impressive sculptures, made from recycled metal and timber, have been showcased across the globe, gaining international recognition at just 20 years old. But it is within the streets of Togo that Atisogoha's work truly comes alive. Emmanuel Solji and Chevon Silk.
In the busy streets of Lomé, a striking sculpture draws the attention of passers-by. Local artist Atisogoha's massive steel bull tells the story of a car that was destined for the scrapyard, but was reborn as an imposing testament to the power of transformation.
My role is to step in and restore their strength and energy, giving them new life.
Similar installations are popping up across the city, like this one made from motorcycle parts and springs. Each piece starts with a search for the unseen.
These pieces call to me and I use them. Sometimes when I pick up a piece, I get an idea. I sketch a plan on the ground and use it in my work at the same time. When we throw things away, it can kill other species that share the earth with us, and they can rot and pollute the environment. And all that ends up harming us in return.
Although he works mostly with metal, Atiso says he's also deeply inspired by the life that he feels thrumming through wood. His art is a way to give voice to the whispers he hears in the materials that he works with his hands.
I communicate with the wood to tell a story, to express what the wood wants to say to others. It's about passing on the messages you feel in this world, so that future generations can understand your contribution to society.
Atiso Goha's work publicly amplifies the principles of sustainability and the creativity that can be found in the mundane.
And we end this program commemorating a victory that inspired a nation. On June 24, 1995, the Springboks clinched their first World Championship title against New Zealand. This triumph resonated deeply with the new generation of supporters and is often credited to the Madiva effect. In a powerful gesture during the final, Nelson Mandela wore the Springboks colours, once a symbol of apartheid, transforming it into an emblem of unity for all South Africans. And this concludes Eye on Africa. Thank you for watching France 24.